So we have a special guest with us tonight. This brother is massively accomplished. Number one, he's a blurred. Uh, he's a doctor. He's a doc. He has an MD, PhD, I believe he's going for. He's going to talk about it, and he's created a little app. And I don't want to say little. Let me take that back. He's created a VR app.
He has undertaken taken the time and succeeded in creating something that very few others have done without a massive team behind them.
Yeah. Stephen Christian, come on board. What is going on?
Oh, you're muted, baby.
Yeah, you're muted. You're muted.
It happens to everybody. There's a button underneath. In you're in the show thing. It'll say mute.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah, so you have to do full screen, and then you can unmute yourself. If you're not in full screen,
let me give you this because I was reading your bio and my God.
Apple.
Yeah.
Gifts given.
I appreciate it.
Quite impressive.
So there's a couple of disclaimers. I don't have my MD yet, but I am an MD PhD student. And so talk to me a couple years later and so that's nice. still pending. But
pre-doctor, that's all.
Yeah. They call it baby doctors. We're like baby doctors right now.
Yes.
So tell the people about your background, because this is something.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, where do you want to start? But for the most part, I mean, like, in a nutshell, like, how do I describe it? I like to challenge myself. That's kind of the best way that I could describe it. I am originally from Sacramento, California, but like my family is from like the Bay Area and stuff. So, Richmond, California, Sacramento, like the Northern California area is mainly like where I grew up. And I come from a pretty, robust like football and baseball family. And so, in high school, it was just like trying to get to the league, trying to get some money, try to do what you're supposed to do, right? Like, growing up in the 90s, early 2000s, Black kids, just like you get a scholarship, you go to college, you sort of do that thing. And so, I was fortunate enough to, kind of funny. I was like smart in high school, and I was also like one of the fastest guys coming out of California at that point. And so going into my senior year, like I was actually one of Jim Harbaugh's like first commits at Stanford. And so if you're like familiar with, the most recent, game that happened and all that stuff, I was one of his original commits when he got to Stanford and stuff like that. But, for one reason or another, I did not want to play for Jim Harbaugh, for reasons I will not, harp on, but, it just,
It didn't sit right in your soul.
I would say, I would say, like, just Google how Richard Sherman feels about Jim Harbaugh, and you can get an understanding of, because when I committed there, that was right when Richard Sherman was moved from receiver to defensive back. And so when I would go up to Stanford, they'd be like, okay, you're sort of like the prototype of what we're looking for when we're bringing you in and stuff like that. And so, aside from the point like that didn't really work out there, ended up playing at Hawaii at the end of like the June Jones era and going into, the McMacken era, and ended up having 2 hip surgeries while I was there. And so it was an interesting experience, because I was, in one way or another, I was sort of stuck just living in Hawaii, trying to, figure out life and stuff like that. And I think after my second hip surgery, I wasn't sure if I was going to be playing anymore. And so I essentially decided to like, and this is back when like Borders books was still a thing, right? Like, that was
the high school hangout for me.
Right,
man.
right? Like, Borders books was still a thing. And I was just like, I want to create like the next Boondocks, or I want to like create Boondocks in like my own image and stuff. Like I was a big fan of Aaron Magruder. You know, I have all the comic strips. You know, I watched all the shows like from high school up and then. And this was before I think season 3 came out. And so it was just like there was nothing for like Black people to like watch. You know, it was just sort of the end of the heyday. And so I just started to like get into comics, get into animation, get into, you know, just sort of like storytelling. And I was, you know, as I was recovering from hip surgery, I just got, you know, hired at the school newspaper, and I was getting published like 3 times a week. And so, you know, I just started to just like grind it out, trying to figure it out. You know, what my purpose was outside of being like an athlete. Because that was pretty much that's why I was at school, and I couldn't do that anymore. Right. And so after that, ended up like graduating. I had 2 years of eligibility left. I was hard headed as usual, and I was like, screw it. You know, I have a chip on my shoulder, and I still want to keep playing. And so after 2 hip surgeries, I ended up graduating school, transferring to Oregon State, getting in a master's program, and then I ended up starting at Oregon State. You know, for my like first 2 years, or like, you know, my remaining 2 years that I was playing football. And so I was kind of like, I like quickly became an Oregonian, and you know, by far was like the best experience of my life. And not only because I was like playing in the Pac-12, you know, RIP, but I got to play with a lot of great people. And um, because I was in a grad program, I was giving a lot more liberties as a student athlete to like explore things outside of like just what they want you to do, because I already had my degree and I had 2 years. And so I got to do art shows. I got to work with different organizations, angle that whole student athlete thing. I mean, like back then we couldn't get paid. And so it was a lot of, you know, finagling around all the different stuff that like the NCAA like forced you to do and forced you not to do. And one of those was just like, if there was money involved, I had to literally like leave the building. It was just like, if they're like coming to see my work and stuff. And so, you know, like that was sort of like a very formative experience that, you know, sort of allowed me to explore a lot of things off the field. And then, you know, when I decided to like retire from playing football, then I ended up just like spending a year to just like make a documentary about like the business of college athletics. And that, you know, that gave me an interesting taste of like, you know, what to expect for like, you know, entertainment and Hollywood and stuff. And, you know, I ended up, you know, I got the opportunity to like screen it in movie theaters. It got picked up by Hulu. And it was just like sort of like this thing after another just for it to happen. And then after all that stuff happened, I like, you know, sort of like reality set in. And it was just like, okay, student athlete, you know, I have this body of work, I have passion, but I have no work experience and I have no internship experience. I'm no longer a student. So with the master's degree, I was pretty much unhireable. And so I was just like, well, dude, like, you know, like what the heck? What do you like? How do you do it? Like, what do you do with this? Right. Like, and so, you know, it's like I had an IMDb page, but I couldn't get hired on an entry level job because they weren't going to pay me enough. You know, like I didn't have the experience for a master's degree. And I was, you know, I was just overqualified for entry level positions. So it was just like, this
Ain't
like,
that the breaks? That's the breaks right there.
where it's just like, dude,
Educated, but can't get in. I understand that feeling.
yeah,
I'm so triggered right now.
like it just sucked. And so one of the things like so like my cousin, he ended up having a really successful career at Denver as a tight end. And during that time he was like in LA, and he had this like creative agency. And I was like, okay, dude, you know, I need to get on a creative agency. I can angle that, blah blah. That never happened. They didn't hire me, but what they did do is they gave me like one piece of advice. And the advice was that I have a variety of different skills that I, you know, was sort of, you know, making different things here and there, but like they weren't necessarily connected. And so the best thing that I could do, in their opinion, was put all that stuff into one project. And, you know, if you do that, then it will give people a good idea of what skills you have. And so that like really really stuck with me as I like moved forward. One, I was still salty that I still didn't get a job. And so I was just like, dude, right. But like the big thing was that like it narrowed my focus onto, okay, if I do something, I'm going to put all my skills towards it. and it'll eventually get me a job, right? And so what people see of my work now is quite literally just that project. And that project is Island Fever. It started off as a webcomic, and I had years and years and years of like newspaper comics. Then from there I moved into animation. Interestingly enough, I ended up getting to like exploring more of the tech stuff, because whenever I would do conventions, you could go to a convention, you could be like, oh yeah, I'm an animator, but normally conventions don't have they don't have internet. And so if you say, oh yeah, I'm an animator, all they're going to be like, oh yeah, let me see your stuff, and then you try to send them a YouTube video or whatever, don't have any internet or whatever. So then I'm sitting here, looking at people that got stickers and books and all that stuff, and I'm saying I'm an animator, but ain't nobody seen none of my animation, right? And so it's just like, it was just like tough in that way. And so as I started to get further deeper and deeper into this stuff, trying to still get a job, right, but still like working on my stuff and building out sort of like an IP, like an early an early iteration of an IP. It was just like, okay, well, I have tons of comics as web comics, let's just put those into print. So now I had books to sell. And so now, I'm going out, people are like, oh yeah, your characters are cute, what if you had stickers, what if you had magnets? Well, those are really easy and cheap to make. So now I got a whole line of stickers, now I got a whole line of postcards, now I got a whole line of that. And then it was just like, okay, well, I have all this, sort of animation on YouTube. I'm an animator, tried and true. Like, comics and stuff, I could crank those out because it's significantly less drawing than animating. Like it just is. Just the numbers just are not on my side when it comes to animation, but they are when it comes to freaking comics and stuff. And so I was like, but what if I can take those stories that I would normally animate, have them storyboarded out, turn those into comics, and then integrate the animation instead of putting it on YouTube. I can put those into the book. And that idea I sort of stuck with, and that, I pretty much spent, end of 2019, 2020, 2021, just sort of developing what that looked like. And then after, a couple of months initially, it just like, I just put the first demo of the app out, and, I was an AR developer, and I was sort of exploring that space. And I think when it came to that, like that was the most liberating thing, because normally when you're working on projects, you're like, okay, like, dang, if I had this team or if I had this, I could do all this stuff with it. Quite literally, every time I come out with the book, I could add all the animation I want. I could add all the music I want. I could add button interactions. I could add all those different things that I would normally do. Right. And the best part about it is that, I could generate revenue from it. And so not only can I make money off of my books and my stories, but I could also make money off of my animation. And I think that is one of the things that really stuck with me, because if you really think about it, how do you make money off of animation? Like you got to get on with the studio. And if you get on with the studio, or you have a popping YouTube channel, which is really hard to do. Like it's really hard. Like, and so, that stuff sort of like carried me through like the pandemic. And mind you, in the backdrop, I'm still like, all this time I'm like trying to get into medical school. After I didn't get hired, I ended up doing a post back at Portland State. And then, did that for 2 years. And then for like the remaining 4 years following that post back, I just pretty much, took the MCAT twice, did all my prereqs, volunteering at the hospital and all that stuff. And then I eventually got into school, I think in 2021. Yeah. And so then it was just like, okay, well, now I'm a medical student. And then, because of the pandemic, AR, emerging technology, VR, they were like, that's sort of like the saving grace of like in medical technology at this point. So everybody was like, man, we need to do this and do that with tech and all that stuff. And I'm just sitting here like, well, dang, like all the stuff that I was doing, I was just kind of just doing on the side, and it just sort of like happened to like integrate in this interesting way. And now it's sought after. But when I was applying to medical school, they was like, this is a distraction. This is that. Like, we don't think you're focused and all that stuff. And once you get in, it's a completely different. It's like it's completely different. And so now at least, I'm like, studying for my first board exam. And I am like animating on the side, and working on a few projects for a couple of clients, and working on Island Fever and trying to launch, the mini books and
Lady
all that stuff.
Mandalore is dumbfounded right now.
Like
There's no way. There's no way. There's no way. There's no way. Just I'm studying to get my vet tech license fucking finally, whatever. Doing just that by itself is inundating. You are going for your boards while you're building an AR program, while you're doing side jobs, while you're no.
Well, I would say that like they all happen in waves, right?
Okay.
Like so it's not like I do juggle a lot of stuff, but like
Yes, you do.
it happens in waves, and like there's a lot to say about doing a little bit every day towards an end goal. And I think that at least to manage and navigate the constant stress that I'm constantly under, I really stick to that, because it all works out in the end. It just and so
somehow it's working.
Not I'm juggling a tiger and a shark and a bear, and I got I'm doing a flambe behind me with my toes. Yeah, no, it's fine. This is fine.
This man is juggling.
Yeah, it's all fine.
This man is juggling chainsaws while giving us string theory and saying it's cool. We're gonna get this will all work out.
So,
sir, wow.
Let me read his bio for those who just coming in. Stephen Christian is Nevada's first Black American MD PhD candidate. He's an innovative founder of Iltopia Studios, blending medicine with art and technology. Blending medicine with art and technology, his animations address social justice while supporting his medical journey. With a master's from Oregon State, he's a mentor and teacher in Reno, Nevada, contributing to nonprofits. Key projects include Island Fever AR, Analog AR Headset, Doodle Life Platform, and consulting for Unity Learn, featured in the Wall Street Journal and more. He's also an integrative neuroscience student at the University of Nevada, Reno, a Unity certified instructor, and an AR/VR expert, pioneering emerging art, tech, and health.
So not only are you a doctor, but you are doing
not a doctor yet. Not a doctor yet.
My guy, let's
pending doctor.
I'm giving it to you. All right,
it's already in the air. We're putting it in the air. We're putting it in the air. First off, I need to give you this because wow,
one of the harder sections of medicine. Okay, all right.
I'm just gonna ask him where's the cape at, because to accomplish all that, sir, I got nothing. I you know what, at that point, when do you start practicing? So I know who to sign up for.
There's a wait list. Wherever you sign up, there's a wait list.
Like, I hope it's sooner rather than later. Like that's like I was looking at, because like the FAFSA, they just like updated all their stuff, and so they're like, oh yeah, hurry up and like fill out your FAFSA and all that. And I'm looking at the numbers, I'm like, that looks bad, but I know that won't be that bad once I start practicing. But to be a physician, it is a $500,000 investment.
Yeah,
like off the bat. And so like you see it accumulate over it, and but you have a greater appreciation for like the process and everything, albeit I will say that a lot of the stuff I go through on a daily basis, I'm just like, Black people weren't involved in none of this stuff. Like,
my guy,
just like it's like that's a constant reminder. And being that like I'm like quite literally like the only Black person, and if I'm not the only Black person, I'm the only Black American, right? Because there's a lot of immigrants, there's a lot of African immigrants that often occupy the spaces that Black people are in, and and often you see that just like there's just a lot of like cultural differences that make things very isolated, and so when I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, I'm going to work on this project, like it ends up working out that way because like it's such an isolating experience that like a lot of the things I get to do and a lot of the friends and the stuff that I get to do and hang out with, with people and stuff like that. That's normally like if I go to a convention or, if I go back home or something like that. But like for the most part, I'm just like, I just bought a condo, so I'm a homeowner and I have 2 stories and I have a storage unit. And so I got a lot of space to just like do me. And I just gotta pass my tests and not get in trouble.
I I want to show your Kickstarter promo just for people to understand what this looks like. And me and Lady Mandela are already like kind of stuck on words, which is not an easy thing to do. But my God, this is impressive. So check this out. Damn.
Right. I got wow. That is
Yeah.
Black Spark.
Everybody's on mute. Everybody's on mute.
First off, congratulations on all these endeavors, because these by far are not easy tasks to do.
No.
And the fact that you're still moving forward and still pressing on and going after your PhD, your MD, and having this AR VR comic book, the accomplishments, I feel like I'm not doing enough.
You say.
Man.
Don't say.
Here I am thinking I'm tired. This man has a full-on VR storybook, and I'm sitting here like, you know what? I'm not tired now. I feel the need to go back to what I was doing just about 2 minutes ago.
It's very much giving quit your bitching.
I'm like, this man is about to be a doctor, and he done established 5 different things in record timing. And like Kira said, it's inspiring because you can't say spit to that. I mean, I want to give, don't get me wrong, Steve. I want to give you all the credit because, dude, it's very rare that we'll see something that has that original idea on a Kickstarter, and then you tell us everything else that you're doing, and you're still going through medical school, and you're still trying to build several different other innovations that you got going on right now. I'm like, when do you sleep?
He don't. You can't tell me. You what? 4 hours?
2.
Oh no. Like I like that. So one of the things that you learn as a student athlete, because I played Division I college football for 6 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like throughout injuries and all that stuff, and I did that like from when I was 17 to when I was 23. Yeah, 23, right? So like formative, like young adult years, right? And so my experience as a young adult is waking up with anxiety at 5 o'clock in the morning for 6 years, hoping that I'm not late to a meeting, because then it's just like it's over for you for like at least that day, right?
Yeah.
Like like the rest of my 20s after that point really was like trying to like navigate what sort of like the non-athlete life is. And like once I got into medical school, it's just like you quickly learn that like you could spend 16 hours studying, but like none of that matters if you don't go to sleep because you're not going to remember it all. And so it's the like the way I just sort of like approach just like education, life, all those things because of medical school. It has definitely reoriented me towards something that is a lot more sustainable. Um,
Mhm.
Hence where I'm like, I'll do a little bit of a whole bunch of different things every day. And if I, give myself enough time to do it all, then it all works out in the end. Right. And
Mhm.
and that's I think like last year was definitely a testament to that. And hopefully, just sort of moving forward, I could just sort of like build off of that. Because it's stressful. And like there's a lot of times where you're just like, I don't want to do anything, but you have to. And if you just put an hour in, then like at least you get somewhere, right? You could,
Right.
spend the next 3 hours watching Echo or something. Like it, it's just, it's and then just like treating yourself and just being sort of kind to yourself at the end of the day. Like it's the that's just because like what else are you going to do? You're just going to like do the stuff that you enjoy, do the stuff that you that makes you happy. And if you don't, at least do something that's cool that people talk about. And
Mhm.
and I kind of just look at it that way. Like I could like kid you not, probably out of my school in general, probably most schools, I am probably I can I have a lot of cool stuff to talk about within the medical field and space, right?
Mhm.
Whether it's just talking about, extracurricular stuff, talking about sports, talking about nerdy stuff in animation, talking about anime, talking about creative processes, or even talking about research, right? Like and I think that just speaks to just like, I'm a black person, right? Like we like to
Yeah.
talk
Mhm.
about stuff, right? We like to talk
Right.
about stuff we do, especially
More
stuff we're good
people
at,
too.
right? And
Mhm.
and you'll be surprised how that translates when you actually are about that stuff. And you will be surprised how much of a difference that makes you amongst your peers. That you know, at at some point, I just started looking at people's shoes. I'm just like,
Mhm.
those things, I ain't trying to talk to you. Like just like just it's like like you might see a couple of Yeezy boosts here and there, but you're never going to see any Jordans. And if you do, you might see some like Team Jordans. Like you're going to see some Hokas or some weird, New Balances or whatever. But it's like for
Mhm.
20, early 20s and mid 20s, late 20s, it's like at least your shoe game has to be on point. You might be stressed out of, but like dang, like it's so I like little things like that, just sort of I get a kick out of just to like keep going because it's you have to find ways to deal with that isolation and you have to find
Mhm.
ways to deal with just navigating just you know something that like you probably know nobody else is doing. And at least for me it's like I'm fortunate enough to be personable and be on the internet and do all the things that I like to do and connect with people. I think that was something that I definitely got better with over the pandemic because couldn't see people and I wasn't really seeing people anyway. But like I got to connect with all my friends from all the every other place and have it be like a baseline.
Mhm.
And once I started doing that, like it was it made the journey a lot more palatable every day. And whenever I came out with a new demo, whenever I made a new video about stuff, right? Like the video you showed, I just be making stuff up here and then I just post it on the internet. Like that's just what I do.
Mhm.
And and it's just good. It feels good to just see that like from this like isolated space, it's well received and people get it. And I think that's really like the big thing because especially in tech, like the
Mhm.
Vision Pro is about to come out, and I mean, it's cool. It's cool, but like, I don't know. I'm waiting to see how long it's going to take for them to drop the price because like it
Mhm.
just like it's like, what you gonna do with it? You can't play Fortnite on it, so it's like, what's the
Mm,
point? You know, like,
That part. That part.
and it's like I work in the space, right? Like, and it's just like, and so I'm always sitting here just sort of looking at the outside world, I'm over here. I gotta learn pathology. I gotta learn about gout. I gotta learn about UTIs. I gotta learn about all that stuff, right? And I gotta take tests about it, like with it. And then, once I close the books and I sort of take a step back from that, I get to animate and I get to do all these other things that are really really fun. And
So
so,
our resident editor, Tafari ITV, says he's an anime loving IT major who played football in Wisconsin. This man
dude,
is
when did you
preaching.
play at Wisconsin? Like, I want to know, because we played Wisconsin our first game and we dethroned you guys. Like, we beat you guys. Yeah.
I think
tackle Monty Ball.
flashbacks.
He said, this man is preaching. I was like a new species everywhere I went in the Midwest. It's funny you mentioned earlier that you were a fan of the Boondocks, and it just so happens we're good friends with Carl Jones, who's so you never know.
Let me go ahead and just send out a request to somebody. Just let me just
look at every now and then, I'm not up in everybody's DMs, but I'll just be sending people stuff, right? Like it, and that's normally how I how I meet people, right? Like me and if you're familiar with Trill League, I hope you guys are.
Yes.
I'm really good friends with Anthony. He was like one of my he's one of my like convention buddies, and by virtue of Anthony, like got connected with Chase. And so like everybody that I know that's like popping, that is doing something, like they know that I'm going to hit them up about like, hey, okay, like it's whenever you're ready, I know you're animating, I know you're doing this stuff, let's make some AR stuff. Because it's like, for me, it's just like I'm just trying to put people on at this point. Because it's because like to that point, it's like the economy of the animation industry, for all its greatness and everything, there are very little opportunities for the opportunities for you to actually make a living or actually generate revenue within animation is very restricted to just a few options, and a lot of that stuff is not is not customer facing. And so like the scalability of it, it's really easy for somebody to make a killing off of stickers. But if you were to just take a little bit of that, a little bit of what you would do for animation, integrate that into a physical product or whatever, and just build an experience around it, because that's pretty much all this is, just building out experiences. It like there's just avenues for it, because it's not like we're all like we're on the gig economy at this point. And so it's like it's not like you got I mean, if you're lucky to have a pension, like you might have a pension, you might have a savings, all these different things. But like a lot of us, we're going project to project. We might have a a stable income, but then we have something on the side, we got something else on the side, we still have our dreams and hopes. It's all those different things. So it's like you never know what's going to happen. But I friend like when you're when you're on an app store, you're in a whole different ball game. And there's a lot to say for being on an app store. Even if your app is just to show some pictures moving, like that's a feat in and of itself. There's not a lot of Black people in the app store. Like it just is. And so it's like would you rather have 10,000 followers, or would you rather have 10,000 app downloads? It's like it just just from my experience of the things that I've explored and the insights that I've gotten from it, it's a lot of stuff that is like the bar is very low, but like to even even to like get around to like doing it, it took me maybe like 2 weeks to like make an app and put it on the app store. Like the first iteration of Island Fever took me maybe, I don't know, I'd take like a month. Like a month and like $110.
That's determined. This guy's
it's
determined and driven.
Like it's now people pay me to do it, and so that's a fun thing. But but to say like to be on an app store and to be able to be an artist and to be able to sort of understand the work and show people and have it either go over their head or get some level of admiration or whatever. Like if it doesn't do anything, at least it makes an impression. And I could just be like, oh yeah, I'm the dude that like makes the AR stuff that's in medical school, and people were like, oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right.
It
I
just,
have a couple comments that's in the crowd. So Elizabeth Collins says he's preaching for real. She's a microbiology public health major. She's also a lab technician who likes drawing anime. So this shit is interesting. Tafari states he is D3. He was not in the big leagues. Concordia, Wisconsin conference champs freshman year. So though he did get a ring out.
Hey, when
Student Dr. Chad over on IG, he says opportunities are definitely slim in animation. You almost have to know someone to get in the door.
yes.
So our very own. Honestly, do I look like I give a fuck? Or AKA Nicole, or AKA Whoopty Freaky Do. She says she has a BS in biology and an MS in biomedical sciences, so it speaks to her as well. So,
Like,
dude,
honestly, the easiest bag is just going into like making comics and cartoons for like science. Like, if you're just like, I just want to make a quick buck and just like spend a year doing that, like the bar is so low. Like it's so low. Like, if what is the there's a manga and anime about like the human immune system.
oh,
Like
dead cells.
yeah,
cells at work.
that's it.
Yeah. It, like, literally, if somebody were just like make their own version of cells at work, like write your ticket. Like it's because it's and that's one of the things that like I'll be exploring with like my PhD is looking at how like you can make health education, not like medical education, but just like health education, just stuff about the human body that doesn't require that's devoid of like the misinformation that like you'll see on like the internet with like YouTube and TikTok videos of people that have never read a book in their life. Like it just like don't talk to me about CMOS. Like it just if you have high blood if you have high blood pressure, the last thing you need is more salt. Like don't talk to me about CMOS. Like it just like what? But like once you understand and like because it's all a story at this point, because like you're not walking around just being like, oh yeah, blah blah, you're freaking your hydrostatic pressure is overloaded, and so you got edema, and if you poke your stomach it's going to have a fluid wave. It's like nobody really cares about that. But like if you make it compelling and interesting, like people will remember a whole bunch of different things, and that will help themselves. I mean, to their detriment, but like it just so integrating technology, AR, VR, animation, Black people stuff, and just like integrating that into an experience that people can enjoy and learn from, and be excited to engage with. That's kind of I'm fortunate enough to be able to explore that on an academic level and have it be taken seriously.
You've managed to build the bridge that a lot of blurs out there didn't realize could be built.
I didn't realize it could be built either. I was told this stuff was like, I kid you not, like I applied to 75, 80 medical schools, and I got rejected by, I got 70, 72 medical school rejections. Like it just like, this is like me at this point, it's like, I wish you would tell me I can't do something, because it's like, I've done enough to where like, I could tell you don't know what you're talking about. and that's like, I don't know what it's going to come to, but like, I know that what you're telling me doesn't make sense to me, because the stuff that people told me wasn't going to work are the things that people are talking about now. It took a while for people to come around, but like, like at this point, it's like, being hard-headed is kind of like my saving grace at this point.
I enjoy when people say you can't do that. I'm like, I'm an Aries. Watch me. Lady Mandalore, what were you going to ask?
I think she went on mute for a second.
Oh, she did. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Griot Horror, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you. I'm so sorry for being late.
You're fine.
You're okay. We just met this man. Like I said, when does his practice start, and when can I sign up?
Yeah.
Because if he's this on point about everything else in life, let me know if my kidney's gonna make it. That's all I ask. Tell it to me true.
I'm pretty sure that if something happens, I'm gonna tell my wife. I said, no. Call Steven. Who's Steven? Just call Steven.
What did he say? That's gonna be the marker. That's the mark of a good doctor. No, what did he say? No, what did Dr. Steven say?
It's like stay away from CMOS. That's all I have to say.
That's gotta be annoying.
Tell my husband that. He likes anymore.
No, I kid you not. Because mind you, I'm studying for like a medical, like U.S. medical license exam, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like I take pride in the stuff that I know because I've missed a lot of questions and had to deal with a lot of strife just to know the stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
I saw there's this like video circulating around about this dude. He has like face tattoos. Not to say anything about face tattoos, but like if you have face tattoos, at least know what you're talking about, right? Like it just. And so he was talking about he was just going off about these different things. And one of the things that he said was like the heart isn't they say the heart isn't a pump, or they say the heart is a pump, but it's not a pump. Your lungs are a pump, and your lungs do this and all that. And I was just like,
sir.
That's gotta be
I'm upset that you have this much attention for the stuff that you're saying. And I feel like it's partly because you're just talking fast and that you got face tattoos, because it just didn't make any sense. And then the worst part about it was he had pictures, he had like animations and stuff like that were going to it. And it wasn't it was like somebody like made like this sort of like slam smash hit video type of thing. And he was just like going off about this. I was like, I respect the editing. Like this is like, I need to do that. I need to get better at that, because what you're talking about is trash. Like it just it didn't make sense from the beginning to the end. And I was just like, man, at least that editing was on point. Because like this is the worst part was like my dad sent me the video after I sent it, and then I was just like, dude, like
No.
don't send me this.
Daddy, no. Dad, no.
Don't send me this. But like as a researcher, I want to see that stuff because I want to see what works. And that way, when I actually go to like actually wanting to do something and I need a reference point, I have a reference point to at least latch onto. So now it's like, okay, if I'm doing something, I'm going to use the essence of this video. I'm going to use the essence of what I see here, the content, and I'm actually going to make it useful. And then I could run a study off of it and stuff like that. And I think that's to be able to sit there and just appreciate what exists, and then actually have the ability and the wherewithal to actually do something like for the betterment of people, and have that be taken seriously. Like I think I'm, for how all the trials and tribulations of my journey, I really just appreciate just being able to do that, and just sort of like looking at like how my parents are, and just people around me, mainly a lot of Black people around me, and seeing how that isn't really the case for them. If I were to say like where, like, have I found, like, after my 30 plus years of being on this earth, have I found like an avenue where I actually feel like I'll be fulfilled, and I can do this until I'm 75, 80 years old? It's like this is definitely it. Like, no, NFL didn't work out, but I think this is I'm on the right track with this.
Student Dr. Chad said I wish more students would talk about the rejections and the roadblocks when trying to pursue degrees in STEM.
Like, yeah.
Thank you for telling the truth. It's refreshing for STEM professionals to be transparent. Elizabeth Collins says, my friend is in her residency, and yes, during her time in med school, it was rough. A lot of her moments, it was a lot of rough events and emotional times. Yeah. Everybody's like on board. It's amazing how many science geeks are in the blur community. I love it. I love it.
That's the medical field. I will always be that to me is always a big thing to see those still wanting to become nurses, doctors, surgeons. I will give you guys all the credit in the world, because I've seen friends go through medical school. I've seen friends go through residencies. I've seen friends go through board exams. One friend of mine, I'll never forget this. He had to go to a rage room after he got done. I was like, bruh,
Oh,
whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
He just sat there and said, he just sat there and said, bro, I just need to break something. Okay. We can find a place. Just don't hit me. That's all I ask.
Like it's real. Like
Yeah.
It's real.
It's not a joke. Like it's not something that the hardest part of being in the medical field is exactly what Stephen was talking about. It's having people that have not done a percentage of the research and practice and execution and focus on in the field that we're in. It's not. It's fucking annoying. So annoying. So annoying.
Like the best way I can describe it is it feels like because like you could learn the content, understand all those things, right? But when you're actually taking a test, it feels like you are like the test that you're taking is written in a different language. And it's and like the way I could chalk it up to is I was like, I know Black people did not make these questions.
Okay.
Because I like and that just sort of like, you know, just like wrap my mind around it, because it's like, you know, you want me to know these things, and I do know those things, but why did you say it that way? Like, who talks like that? And it's you know, and it's so far removed, at least like the first 2 years of medical school, because like at least for me, like my track is like 6-7 years. So like I do like my first 2 years of and this is like I'm learning this as I go. I didn't know this like prior to it, right? But my first 2 years is just like classroom work. Then I take a break from medical school technically to do like 2 to 3 years of research for my PhD. And then I do my clinical stuff my last 2 years. And so that's what my like track looks like. And so, you know, technically I'm like a third of the way through, right? But it's like I am counting the days till I'm not looking at a freaking multiple choice test, because it's the bane of my existence. Like it's like I'll sit here, I will animate a cat scratching his face like at 60 frames per second before I like want to touch another freaking like multiple choice test, because it's like, you know, it's like I read the passage and it's like, okay, I know what we're talking about. Boom, 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 boom. And then they will give me the thing that I was thinking about. So I'm like, okay, I'm on the right track. And then they'll come out of left field and just be like, oh yeah, what will we do next? And then they'll give me a whole bunch of just like random stuff that like nobody even talks about. And I'm just like, really? Like, this is what we're doing today? Like, and so it's you know, the fact that I can create stuff is a blessing, because a lot of people just drink and watch TV. Like it's just like it's you would be surprised. Like I'm the one at the school that has the best presentations. Like I like people want to be in my projects, like, because everybody else is like, you know,
it's once again proving that, you know, when our people are involved, a little extra on
we
it.
push the needle.
Yeah.
Because why? We have to be twice as good for half the goddamn credit.
Yeah.
Ain't that the truth?
And then there's that. So
But we always still push the needle.
yeah, consistently.
Yeah. It's like one, and I think one of the things that like I'm coming to terms with is understanding that the things that come like relatively easy to like people that aren't doing as much stuff is not an indictment on like my ability to do things, even if it like takes longer. I think that's like just on a regular basis, because you know, yes, I could do all these different things, and like I do well with a lot of things that are not medical school related, or at least not like multiple choice medical school related. But when it comes down to, you know, like trying to get a test done, or like getting past your test, because that's pretty much what we're you know, what we're judged on at this point. I'm just like, dude, I just need to pass. Just give me the P and just let me go. Like, I ain't trying to get an 80. I'm definitely not trying to get a 90, because that means that I spent too much time with that stuff that I could have been doing with other stuff. Right?
Mhm.
Like, it's pass fail, give me the P and let me just move on. And
He's on the balance somewhere.
and it's and it can be a challenge, right? Like, it can be a challenge, especially when just like things just, you don't feel like doing stuff, or you're tired, or it snows, or like all types of stuff, right? And so being okay with like not being perfect, but also being okay with like not being at like the top of the pack and just like barely scooting by. It's okay to like it's okay to do that, and uh, and there's nothing wrong with that. And even as a MD or a PhD or whatever, like it just like sometimes you just got to just get by just so you can do the stuff that you enjoy, and that's been a challenge. Just because it's like you don't always want to be on edge of like, dang, did I fail? Did I do this, or did I fall short in one way or another? Because they will definitely let you know when you're falling short.
Yeah.
It's like there's an email away. It's like, ugh, but it's all part of the process. Like and that's why they call it practicing medicine, because nobody knows what they're doing half the time.
This
Don't let my
That's
grandmother
scary.
hear you say that shit, because good God.
Okay, that's scary.
I mean, mind you, like it's a practice, but like, when Tom Brady practices, he has the experience to back up what he's going to do, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, I like, if your wrist is hurting, I probably have an idea of why your wrist is hurting. And I could go down a whole bunch of different things of what would cause it. And after talking to you for like a couple of minutes, I could probably narrow it down to like a couple of things. Like that's what they train us to do, right? Like, if somebody is walking down the street and they have a big belly or whatever, I probably have an idea of what's going on with their kidneys or their liver. Like, it just like, and also the things that are associated with it that are, something they don't want to tell people. It's like, just because the body works in a certain way, right?
Right.
And so it's like, yeah, it's a practice, but like, in order for us to get into practicing, they're not going to let us practice until like 5, 6, 7 years from when we got into medical school.
Exactly.
And so, that 10,000 hours, comes quick, and then it multiplies, before we even get to practice. And so it's and eventually, I'll probably have a series, or I'll have a whole bunch of books done, and I'll have all that, because I get stressed out, and when I get stressed out, I need to make stuff. So
he sponsors
you
back.
know,
We're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna come back with you, Steven. We're gonna come back. We got some news pieces to talk about. Some more Star Wars news, and of course the Queen. Talk about that, and then a small review on Echo. Other than that, we will be right back.